Comenzamos con las alabanzas al Buda Shakyamuni. Maestro, destructor de enemigos, has sido Buda completa y perfectamente despierto, dotado con sabiduría y conducta ejemplar, ido al gozo, timonero que guía a los seres ordinarios que aún deben ser domados, Ser supremo, maestro de todos los dioses y los hombres, Buda, destructor de enemigos, glorioso y victorioso Ser Shakyamuni, ante ti me postro y a ti voy por refugio. Maestro, destructor de enemigos, así ido, Buda completa y perfectamente despierto, dotado con sabiduría y conducta ejemplar, ido al gozo, timonero que guía a los seres ordinarios que aún deben ser domados, Ser supremo, maestro de todos los dioses y los hombres, Buda, destructor de enemigos, glorioso y victorioso Ser Shakyamuni, ante ti me postro y a ti voy por refugio. Maestro, destructor de enemigos, así ido, Buda completa y perfectamente despierto, dotado con sabiduría y conducta ejemplar, ido al gozo, timonero que guía a los seres ordinarios que aún deben ser domados, Ser supremo, maestro de todos los dioses y los hombres, Buda, destructor de enemigos, glorioso y victorioso Ser Shakyamuni, ante ti me postro y a ti voy por refugio. El Sutra del Corazón. Así lo oí. Una vez el bendito estaba residiendo en Rayayira, en la montaña llamada Pico del Buitre, junto a una gran asamblea de monjes y una gran asamblea de bodhisattvas. En ese momento el bendito entró al samadhi que expresa el Dharma, llamado iluminación profunda, y al mismo tiempo el noble Avalokiteshvara, el bodhisattva Mahasattva, mientras practicaba la profunda perfección de la sabiduría, vio lo siguiente. Vio que los 5 skandhas son de la naturaleza del vacío. Entonces, por el poder del Buda, el venerable Shariputra le preguntó al noble Avalokiteshvara, el bodhisattva Mahasattva, ¿cómo debe entrenar un hijo o una hija de familia noble que quiere practicar la profunda perfección de la sabiduría? Entonces el noble Avalokiteshvara, el bodhisattva Mahasattva, le contestó al venerable Shariputra, oh Shariputra, un hijo o una hija de familia noble que desea practicar la profunda perfección de la sabiduría debe practicar así, viendo lo siguiente, que los 5 skandhas son de la naturaleza del vacío. La forma es el vacío también es la forma. El vacío no es otra cosa que la forma no es otra cosa que el vacío. De la misma manera, los sentimientos, las percepciones, las formaciones mentales y la conciencia también son el vacío. Por lo tanto, Shariputra, todos los dharmas son el vacío. Existen las características, no existe el nacimiento ni la cesación. No hay impureza y no hay pureza. No hay merma ni hay aumento. Por lo tanto, Shariputra, en el vacío no hay forma, sentimiento, percepción, formación mental ni conciencia. No hay ojos, oídos, nariz, lengua, cuerpo o mente. No hay apariencias, ni sonidos, ni olores, ni sabores, ni tacto, ni dharmas. No hay dhatu de los ojos y así hasta el dhatu de la mente y conciencia. No hay ignorancia ni fin de la ignorancia hasta la vejez y la muerte. No hay fin de la vejez y de la muerte. No hay sufrimiento ni origen del sufrimiento. No hay cesación del sufrimiento, ni sendero, ni sabiduría, ni logro, ni ausencia de logro. Por lo tanto, Shariputra, ya que los bodhisattvas no tienen logros, moran en la profunda perfección de la sabiduría. Como no hay obscuración en la mente, no hay tampoco temor. Trascienden lo falso y alcanzan el nirvana total. Todos los Budas de los 3 tiempos, a través de la práctica de la profunda perfección de la sabiduría, despiertan completamente la iluminación insuperable, verdadera y total. Por lo tanto, el gran mantra de la profunda perfección de la sabiduría, el mantra de la gran percepción, mantra insuperable, el mantra inigualado, el mantra que calma todo sufrimiento, debe ser conocido como la verdad, ya que no contiene falsedad. El mantra de la profunda perfección de la sabiduría es Tayatagate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhisattva 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 Tayatagate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhisattva. Por lo tanto, Shariputra, el Bodhisattva Mahasattva debe entrenarse en la profunda perfección de la sabiduría. Entonces el bendito salió del Samadhi y elogió al noble Avalokiteshvara, el Bodhisattva Mahasattva, diciendo: bien dicho, así es. Oh hijo de noble familia, así es. Se debe practicar la profunda perfección de la sabiduría, así como has explicado, y todos los Tathagatas se regocijarán. Cuando el bendito dijo estas palabras, el venerable Shariputra y el noble Avalokiteshvara, el Bodhisattva Mahasattva y toda la asamblea de dioses, humanos, asuras y gandharvas se regocijaron y alabaron las palabras del bendito. Sachipukis Yujiveto Tramriramlishti Nidem Kemali Sangye Shedrub Mite Umaji Drogunam Takshilam Shubhashok Sachipukis Y tomamos refugio. Sangye chudan soyi chonan la Sanchu bardu dani kya sushi Dari jin soyi personangi Drola penchi sangye drupasho Sangye chudan soyi chonan Chanchu bardu dani kya sushi Dagi jinsogi personangi Drola penchi sangye drupasho Sangye chudan soyi chonan la Chanchu bardu dani kya sushi Dagi jinsogi personangi Drola penchi sangye drupasho.
So first I'll make a Lingish prayer since you all studying Madhyamaka philosophy, and Madhyamaka philosophy is flourish in Nalanda, in the Nalanda University in India. So this Lingish prayer chose to Nalanda masters. Before I start my talk, and just to kind of feel their present, their blessings, and particularly lineage, from human to human, and now over here in this in a Caribbean island in San Juan, Puerto Rico, studying, practicing Madhyamaka Nalanda tradition. This is excellent. So I think we should knock the door of the Nalanda lineage. Hey, we exist here. So I'll do a short lineage prayer. I'll recite from in a Tibetan. So Dola penji duji radembe bando gyoba chonye laye la tenjun damgi donama den zebe tobe ombe nima gujaz gawe ngondun tada sejibe tenjun rizu sabden mase gebe gawe mushin tejo unyebe eje luduvo shala so teze to kishin rubeju chinan tubden yazo parunsi Lujubu Junzin Kungi Zu Norobe Gyase Tome Gyase Pagola La Soa de Gyawe Gomba Tenjung Tatu Dayu Mingyang Zamgi Samyu Ne Seze Chuba Seche Sa Shekwa Sangi Nyangi Shabla Soa de Dembe Ngobu Gega Taka Jeng Tsama Tunan Chidun Sheba Ye Chude Sudu Yonzo Pendita Lube Lengden Chela Soa de Dembe Ngobu Keso Taka Jeng Tsama Tunan Chidun Sheba Ye Chude Sudu Yonzo Pendema Lube Lengden Chela Soa de Tenden Genyin Diba Tsamgi Tani Zebe Nangdong Chubeni Sagaye Damze Donga Yongzobe Gyase Ndawajaba Soa de Mi Ngwasal Mijung Ningji Jimbe Lama Satan Gyaji Gyazu Soa Naman 계산 뒤제 소라 된게베 뒤제 감신이도 오면마 사방게지리즈 만나만기에 계산 뒤제 소라 된게베 게세시발로 소아데 뒤제 감신이도 오면마 수도 세르즈 마케진 가외 정수 덤바면제베 켄진 시와 소라 소아데 다데 우미 다와 시라송 공중 도주신도 레드만의 강종 Ganden yonzo sezebe pemenganzu shala sovade chambe sujin tujindun labora begen gajen lamdan ben gabe nurenden jeze tome shala sovade jeze tome shala sovade 중은 dünya var ba gibi ju çendori zundu nazı ve kunyenyi var chama kebe ju de inge shamba zuvade tube lungru shunru to ba ye dönjere tsame lenece bay nenjuro miji be chuji langbi shaka suane chinan tsema juni dozim zabye lamgi yene dönbe lebar mühensi domge be chuji tabi shala suane tome gunje alarji yumetaji umezu gengi yeshundu nama dömeber papa çöde shala suane yum dönje la gebeten bachu nepam gebemena chijindu yumsum shijinju Sezebe lube singiye sombro sovade dubu bumde lube tamje tayu imajinye manu lamde dubu le yönde hegi hesaba sovade labazumunu zengi duzin timi radu gajin şunu lema bize şakya hegi şala sovane tube sorma jalasın ki bu sunjelam getan badi kanjo demen çuva dijala sovade ben tetrazam değil ki masara mejun nejo mijiye tepe jisunde na dagyu mejun rowa chinjelo shi nezu deni dojene denji kuwanjudo jijinbe semen chambe gyabsumun tepaja tanglamsa war chingi lodozo dugunyi jijin mejun lodo donamajen zabe chode duben jijin jumin changzumin jongro chingilo shinda chimbi shungi to namala tosum gombe paraj chode duben inje zabajin jumin changshin jombra jingilo shinda chimbi shungi to namla Nieba bela meba chingila wa kieshin kiewar labzun dembede leje todaruman tenze bela shinde java dang sumbar jambana manjibajo dode lungdu tosoma sheba yashabun tambiya gyujo rado bewa yen zamli zajen gundu denjenje tudu nunga yongzu asalanzo tuni tunju wabini kopan yudu nene namga chisi jove tunche sho okay in this one, the praise Nalanda Master, of course the first one, praise for Buddha Shakyamuni. He's the teaching of, particularly in the second turning Vilabha Dharma, Pratjana Paramita Sutra. That becomes the main resource for Nalanda Masters to becoming to discussion of what is the nature of reality, concept of a subhava in Sanskrit, emptiness, subhava, and again, the key point is not just to philosophize, is not just to develop some theory. Why this theory was developed, the intention is, I think, why we are suffering. Why we are suffering. Why we have to confused. Why we are how we are right now. That's the source of understanding and developing based on this big question. Why we have to get confused. Why we cannot be like all the time compassionate. This question is, this is like this is the, if we ask like the theory of emptiness, theory of Madhyamaka, the middle way philosophy, why this discussion happened in the first place? This basically is that basically it is because we face this suffering. And in the suffering is this theory of Madhyamaka, or theory of emptiness, is only for suffering related with spirituality, or this only deals with the suffering related with the spirituality. It doesn't deal with the suffering related with all other things. It's not like that. This is all kind of suffering, any kind of suffering. Theory of a meditation of emptiness, or theory of Madhyamaka is giving some suggestion. It have some way to share the knowledge, discuss. Even our own individual problem with the friendship, problem with the communication, problem with anything, any simple thing, simple problem to very complicated problem, a social problem, family problem, individual problem. This theory of a Madhyamaka is have some opinion. Here, this is why, basically it's a theory of a Madhyamaka saying, like for example, from small problem to problem of a society. It's basically there is this way you, sense of self, and then you have a naturally push sense of other. And basically in this theory of emptiness and theory of all this Madhyamaka is basically saying this problem coming due to this kind of like a superimposition, unbalanced view of a self, your superimposition, or for related with yourself, you have a superimposition, or there's some kind of not able to view into the middle way, so therefore our behavior, our reaction, we have this strong reaction because there is a sense of a self was superimposed. It's not into the middle way view. Yes, naturally reaction happens. Reaction creates chain reaction. Due to that creates in a different type of confusing actions. So Madhyamaka philosophy is basically saying it is not only intellectual answer but also emotional things. When we have our like lots of our superimposed of a self or unhealthy sense of self is a very strongly connected with how our own emotional connection with our own self. So Madhyamaka philosophy and meditation of emptiness is not just to kind of like a wisdom which is nothing have to do with our emotion. It's like is to have a face-to-face communication. It's a face-to-face communication. So here in another way to saying, so now the question comes here. We get upset because we feel I'm right. I'm right. If you feel I'm not right, if you kind of sensing your reaction become fake, not really strong. You may react, but I know I'm not right. But just sake of a reaction, I'll just react. But usually we never thought we are right, we are true. Okay, that, and because of that, and plus on top of that, in a way, this is coming from is basically there is a superimposed of a sense of self. There's some kind of very strongly in the Madhyamaka, since you are studying Madhyamaka philosophy, it's basically the philosophical terminology is believing some kind of like an intrinsic, independent, inherent of a self. These are the words which is describing our feeling, our emotion. And so over here, so Madhyamaka study, when you're doing your study, it need to touch all part of our life. How we go, how we wake up, how we communicate, how we talk. This is basically telling, hey, here's something that, sometimes maybe you feel like, okay, I have no energy, I feel like no inspired, I don't feel that. Sometimes you are overly excited and overly energized, and maybe sometimes in a wrong way. So all these things is can we have a balance? Something that some wave. It's good to have a not so still, but some wave, but not like the wave that threats everything. Not tsunami, but usually we are in the tsunamis. So it's kind of, there's a wave, there's a movement, there's aliveness. So something that our life becomes much more progressive. So that there's no kind of like a pullback. So so here, so my key point over here is we need to really translate our Madhyamaka study, what that means to me, how I interact with how I see myself, and how I view another people, how I interact, how I communicate, looking into my own habit. What Madhyamaka philosophy understanding really communicates, what it can give me some guidelines that, at least we need to kind of really bringing the Madhyamaka philosophy and the Madhyamaka understanding into our daily life. Okay, our daily, it's not only into the meditation cushion, but really in that. So I think to able to do a good meditation into the Madhyamaka philosophy, first we have to really connect what philosophy discuss and what we are going through. Is there any kind of communication? Is there any kind of, our suffering is going one direction, and Madhyamaka philosophy is going one direction. They are in a two different direction, and then of course it's very complicated. So for us, before meditating, I think that otherwise our meditation doesn't becomes, it's the meditation have to be something that it need to touch you, it need to communicate you. Is meditation of emptiness is never becomes some kind of meditation of emptiness, never becomes like something kind of mystical or some kind of extraordinary experience. When we say meditation of emptiness, it is a painful communication. There's a in a tantra, there's a sadhana. In tantra, there's called self-initiation. Self-initiation is basically, usually initiation you have a Vajra master and you have a Vajra disciples and mandalas, and there's this kind of but self-initiation, by yourself, everything you have to go through. It's like meditation of emptiness is something like that. It's a self-initiation. You are really looking into it and trying to finding the communication. Okay, so meditation of emptiness. So the question comes: where we should start meditation of emptiness? Where should I start? And the first thing we need to look at it, our habit first. The first thing, I think, the best thing is the habit. 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 We are humbly we accept I have a bad habit, and then sometimes you react and you feel bad. Then again you react and then you feel bad. You apologize and then again you react and you apologize. So again over here, usually, okay, you notice, you feel really bad about it, and we don't move more than that, and then we go back to the same routine. Okay, so now over here, first thing is what is this habit? Habit related with a distraction, habit related with a reaction. So maybe looking into those things, then your understanding about Madhyamaka philosophy. Okay, now you need to really trying to find, yes, Madhyamaka philosophy is suggesting this one. If I do this, I can heal from this kind of habit and reactive behavior. At least it's giving me some suggestion. So I think in the self-reflection, it is I think is a really good self-reflection. Okay, so once you get that quite clear, now what happened is meditation over emptiness. Once you start reacting, you immediately trying to do a meditation emptiness usually doesn't work. Most time doesn't work. It will maybe sometime it will backfire and say, yeah, there's no emptiness. There's something scary. There's not emptiness. There's something really scareful. Okay, so it is like how we, okay, so therefore this kind of a daily, so once you kind of see the connection, your habit and your reactive behavior and your view of yourself and your view of another from emptiness, Madhyamaka philosophy is saying like this, that basically if you kind of loosen up kind of this kind of intrinsicness, inherentness, independent kind of these flavor in your view of yourself and another, reactive behavior can be slowed down, habit behavior can slow down, but the karmic conventional whatever we need to do it, yes, we need to do it, we need to go through that, but it can be done without creating another reaction or another karma. So it can be kind of close up any kind of karmic journey. That's the only kind of is suggesting. Okay, so over here, so once you kind of, I think it's very important that, like for example, in a patient, and the doctor say you take this medicine and explains this medicine how it works. This is your problem. This is how it's going to help. Once you have this kind of acknowledging and understanding, and then yeah, you have that. Oh, that makes sense. Okay. So there is this kind of acceptance. So before we go to the meditation of emptiness, we have to have some acceptance. This view of intrinsicness is the which really attracts all the reaction and negative habits. Okay, so that's I think step number one. So here, so this kind of notice, and then when you're doing your daily meditation, doing daily, then you have kind of like a control environment that you kind of sit. You are really controlled environment. You have a meditation cushion, and you really, it's almost like a rehearsal, almost like a undoing the intrinsic view of a self and another, undoing. And the computer is look kind of quite easy, you just undo, one click undo, but in the emotional process, it is an exercising process. It is a rehearsal. It is almost like you are imitating, you are pushing your view in that way. Something, that's kind of like a rehearsal, that kind of a rehearsal. And this rehearsal, this orientation of empty of intrinsic self and another, empty of intrinsic of your action or others' action. This rehearsal, this good orientation will become very helpful. Very helpful. Okay, once that our karmic habit shows up. Once the karmic habit shows up, so we are kind of, we are more professional. We are prepared. We are prepared. We are prepared. We are prepared. Okay, so basically, our true nature of our human, fundamental, our human being humanness is there. Human, how you say, nature. In the surface we have a lot of negativities, so on and so forth, but in the fundamental, much more in a deeper level, we have very, even we see very heinous crime people, but then you listen, sometimes we can see in the communication process, yes, that is a tremendous negative engagement, but we can still kind of witness their human nature. It's so unfortunate it happened due to cause and condition, but it's not necessarily as a nature. So I think the key point over here, through how much our own human nature, humanness, we can be, how you say, manifest more into our own daily life, like more human, more kind, more, how you say, less interfered by all this intrinsic, this kind of barrier, this kind of like defensive, emotional defensive, or offensive or defensive. So basically there's a push and pull, kind of slowing down, that kind of like a slow down, and then there's some more openness. Okay, there's more openness. So so from the Nagarjuna point of view, the ultimate healing process, the ultimate therapy, or ultimate way to kind of heal any kind of our problem in our life, from Nagarjuna point of view, Madhyamaka philosophical point of view, they say, okay, yes, in history, in my history, such a negative things happens, it creates scar, it creates some kind of imprint, but at this moment, if I try to walk the view of myself and another, empty of intrinsic, it is almost like a 1,000 years a cave. Then you suddenly put light on it. Yeah, it is a really long period of time. This cave stay very dark, but the light, one-time light, candlelight, can really clear up that long time of a darkness. In the same way, so now meditation of emptiness is basically what you're doing is sometimes we react for something, and when you really think, that is not the real story. The real story is somewhere another. In the same way, the anger or reaction or distraction is the real story is not the anger and reaction of those colorful emotions. That's not the real story. The real story coming from, because from the Madhyamaka philosophy, you are making everything so truly existence. So that's the real story. Where rest of the kind of like just the play, just the symptoms. So over here, so basically meditation of emptiness is a process of observing and witnessing and looking for what is the real story here. usually we get distracted into the surface stories. So here it's saying it's meditation of emptiness. Basically, you are really looking beyond the emotional reaction, looking beyond the distraction itself. It's just in the meditation of emptiness is like the beginning part. Meditation of emptiness is we cannot escape from the disturbing emotions. It's basically you have to go. You bring the disturbing emotion into the lab of the wisdom, and then you really need to walk very carefully without it take over you. So meditation of emptiness is something. It is not absolutely no repressing, absolutely not trying to apply antidote. At the beginning, you want to see the deeper story. You want to see the meditation of emptiness. Is a really, in the psychologists they say they'll go back to childhood and let's kind of go back that way. In the meditation of emptiness, it's not so going to the past, but just going in the present and just going deeper down what I am feeling, where I'm feeling, where I'm viewing, where I'm seeing. It's just going. So of course, both are good. In the psychologists really go back into the childhood and trying to find. That's also good. In the meditation on emptiness, not necessarily go through meditating emptiness over your past life. Meditation emptiness over this life in the present life. So it's really looking at this moment is much more going into deeper and looking into the, it's just trying to go in. It's both in the psychologist and the meditation and emptiness, the same kind of habit, just going behind the death story. It's just habit. One goes back to, you are, 20, 30 years old, but it's time to go when you are childhood. You just go behind. And meditation and emptiness, just trying to go deeper. What's ever happening at this moment on the surface, that is just kind of like symptoms. So you're trying to go deeper, trying to look at much more deeper. Okay? So this kind of like a rehearsal, I think, is a very important. Step number one, I think, there's a plenty habit. We react, we go, and then at least if you can kind of remind yourself, okay, this is not the real story. Let me go a little bit more down. So the actual meditation is here. Once you kind of like notice and acknowledge, and here, this looks like here the real story. It looks like the real story is this one. No, I want to go much more deeper. So meditation of emptiness is that kind of like a tracing much more in a deeper where is coming from, which really what Nagarjuna suggesting. So meditation of emptiness is a really that kind of like a much more looking into the process of your thought, process of your emotion, process of how you respond. Okay, so when you're doing meditation of emptiness, sometimes you go to hospital. Of course, hospitals are clean and nice, but if you hesitate to go there, as much possible to postpone. Oh, I'll come next. Of course, it's in the deep down it is helpful for you, is beneficial for you, but somehow as much possible to postpone, or we can say I'll come some another day. I'll do my things, another things first, then come the last time to see the doctors. Sometimes meditation of emptiness is similarly something like that. It is not you're going to see something that making feel you good. I don't think so. Meditation emptiness not necessarily feel you good. Meditation emptiness is it's not that you want to be there. But I think for us, our purpose our life is to be a happy person, compassionate person, joyful person. If that is our goal, then no choice. No choice. No choice. Yeah, the doctors and there's no choice. We have to see. One time I got sick and I was in hospital in Portland, and I'm getting better. And then I was thinking maybe I'll stay one more day, so I get like really kind of make sure. And I was thinking now I'm getting better, so maybe I'll just stay one more. And then one doctor came, and I told him I'll stay one more day, and he told me, if your doctor say you can leave, you just run away as soon as possible. Don't stay here. He said, you should go away as soon as possible. Don't stay. I said, okay. I thought like, oh, that's good. Okay. I'm out. So anyway, so I think meditation or emptiness, the way we start, not from the fantasy of our life. We don't start from there. Not start from enlightenment or liberation. We start with our habit, with our karma. We start with our own karma, and that's only. If we don't start with the karma, is some way we start meditation with emptiness. That meditation in emptiness is not very reliable, because it didn't really work with our own karma. So meditation in emptiness need to really work with our own karma. Okay, so that's the number one. Okay, now so somehow luckily we graduate. We kind of able to do that kind of meditation, and yes, not necessarily we can carry on for 24 hours, but it makes a lots of emotional strength, awareness strength, clarity, yes, can happen. So we kind of move through that. So now we can talk. So once we have this kind of strength and do a meditation, so what that really means now, from that on, what we can do, where we can take this kind of experience, this kind of perspective and a view. Now, you read any kind of a sutra and a tantra practice. A meditation of emptiness is almost like the like the car, the shift gear. The first gear is important, huh? Without first gear, if you go third and fourth, your engine will break. It's almost that you can spiritually make a progress. So you can able to roll, you're able to move, you're able to kind of make a progress. So that's, I would say, almost like once we, for example, maybe we say, I will do Shine first, maybe meditation of emptiness later. That's risky, I think, because it's almost like some of the text says, if you do this approach, it's like you are trying to lighting candle in the middle of the wind. Yes, you can light, but it will stay for a few moments, or maybe it has a kind of takes. So there's a certain level of a meditation of emptiness, and you're able to work with that, with your own karma, to able to balance that kind of like a view of intrinsic. And then when you develop concentration and meditation, then you have a safe inner environment. The way your concentration is not like imposed. Sometimes when you're trying to do a short time Shine, you are pushing. You're imposing for yourself to concentrate. You are pushing yourself when you come, and that doesn't really. Usually, our mind doesn't work that way. Anything you pose, you tell them to do, it wants to do opposite way. So we as an individual person, we need to create the right environment for mind. That's our responsibility. So then the concentration, when you have you create the right environment, basically through the meditation of emptiness, you slow down this whole emotional windy, you kind of slow down, and you have the intention, and then once you are kind of like bringing your attention to your object, there is a naturally abiding. There's no like a rigidness of a pushing into it. It doesn't work there. So meditation of emptiness is almost like a kind of like bringing up our emotional immune system or the health of our awareness. And once we have that into really in a good position, and any kind of positive thinking, reflection can be very effective. Okay, so that's the kind of like the key thing. Okay. So now, so my point is, once we have some kind of familiarity and meditation habit, and then this will really give us a kind of like a, in the today's world, we said in a health environment, is immune boost. Then you have somehow you can have that strength. In the same way, your practice, because sometimes I do practice now almost 2 years, but I don't see any progress. Sometimes you said, I did so long. I'm not sure. I'm even sometimes I'm worried. I'm getting worse. Yeah. I think the container, the foundation, the soil, we didn't prepare, but we look after the seeds and flowers, and we're trying to go through that. Okay, so meditation of emptiness is basically the soil. That's where we need to give attention. Okay, so therefore progress, spiritual progress, meditation progress, and pretty much usually when we say like, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, not making progress. So basically, we are doing this all thing in a view of an intrinsic existence of a myself and another. So the soil is really dry. So no matter how much it is a rigid soil. So there's no way to grow. So this is a very meditation of emptiness, almost like we can for. This is it's almost like almost we might say like a mandatory to make any kind of progress. But sometimes there's a meditation of impermanent, there's a slow approach to going, but they all stay in the same category, wisdom practice. Okay. So my key point is meditation with emptiness is nothing something mystery. Is basically working with our own karmic habit, understanding, connecting. That's number one. Number two, put a strong motivation, and then trying to have your own daily meditation of emptiness, of empty of intrinsic existence, of work with your own habit and yourself, habit and yourself. So that's kind of exercise. And once you work that, that can be like a deep healing process. It's a deep healing process. It can take a deep healing. So basically, it can clear up your awareness, your thinking process, your okay. So so now. Now, I think at the beginning you can work with that, but now once you also need to think, what is a very long term, what I'm thinking, this meditation of emptiness. Long term is a meditation of emptiness is basically, it's not about all about like how I can make a progress and how I can make a transform. It's not so much all about me, but we have to have a minor practitioners. You have to have a short-term goal or short-term your vision and a long-term vision. Short-term vision is that something that you become very, you are able to arise above the cloud. You are able to arise above the karmic habit. That's very important. Otherwise, how we can really becomes realistic for reflection into the enlightenment if we are really all the time just under the karmic habit. If we even not able to get, at least we need to able to swim. Our bodies are under the water, but at least we can breathe. Okay, so this is meditation of emptiness is in our daily basis. Yes, to breathe. We can breathe. We are not sinking. We are not kind of like a sinking down, and we cannot have any kind of oxygen. And now the long-term goal is yes. In the Mayan tradition, we're doing this meditation of emptiness. It's basically then, if I can do this, if my condition this, for me, habits and reactions coming from view of intrinsic and inherent, but as individual have a different. There's no such for somebody not view of intrinsic. There's no such a things. In the samsara, is we all a karmic condition per individual are basically view of intrinsic. That's the really what is Buddha is suggesting. So now for us, we need to really see, is this really working or not working? If we come up with as a clear evidence, no, this is not working. View of intrinsic is not the answer. Empty of a view of intrinsic is not the answer. It's totally maybe it's new way to look at it. So for us, at least our part of is like really try. We need to we need to do our part to how this working. Is this make a sense or not? We need to experiment into basically daily practice is a daily experiment. Daily practice is a daily. So experiment, you need to a repetition of the result. It's just like same like scientific. You repeat that again and repeat that again and again and again, and it not necessarily from the beginning consistent result, but then certain time, then you have this kind of like you get more precise, and the result becomes consistent. So our session is something same like this. We need to at least we have to give for 3 weeks daily. There's a consistent your practice, and your practice have your clarity. You need to turn, you need to look at it. Okay. So now so now traditionally when you're doing meditation of emptiness, usually in the text instruction is step number 1 is how our own self is individuals sincerity about overcoming distraction, how much you are enthusiastic. I think this is not just like I don't like this, I like this. Not just like this. How much you're passionate about it. This is the important part. So before, when we do a meditation of emptiness, we need it says this kind of like a inspiration, enthusiasm, sincerityness. It's a required part of the meditation, because this meditation is a kind of we have to have some kind of internally motivated, otherwise it just becomes, again, we cannot able to deep down, because it's just, there's no enthusiasm, there's no energy to look at him. So this is one part of traditionally it says like you need to intensive meditation into wish to liberate from suffering and cause of suffering. And there's it's not just like I don't want suffering and I want happiness, not such things. It takes something much more deeper awareness, and based on that kind of a strong inspiration and enthusiasm you developed. Okay, and sometimes we feel, suffering is in a part of a samsara, it's part of the existence. You kind of like overly accept it. It's a part of the journey. It is too close, too close with the suffering. Friendship. So here in the meditation of emptiness is this sense of voluntariness, sense of enthusiasm, sense of this. So there's a lots of reflection that in meditation of emptiness, sometimes the individual training go to meditation of a traveling, going through this, basically you are training your mind into the subtle cause and condition of your existence and your condition, just kind of reflecting and reflecting and reflecting, and you bring this awareness quite vivid. You're bringing this awareness quite vivid. So you really, your interaction with your samsara and samsara in general is just beyond the surface, the suffering. For example, 3 types of suffering. And when we meditate in emptiness, all pervasive suffering, meditation into all pervasive suffering becomes very important. Okay, it's a very important part of the meditation of emptiness. So anyway, so it's not just as a holy and divine and spirituality, but it's much more looking into the practical and realistic and enthusiasm so this kind of a process in step number 1 is very important. Okay, now the step number 2 is in a traditional instruction. It says then meditation of emptiness is we as an individual person, we're trying to get into a very sensitive and subtle nature of awareness process. You're just going to get much more subtle. Then you go beyond the surface. So therefore, it says in the instruction, like you have to have some kind of like your Buddhas and Bodhisattvas blessings. It is not like so much like okay, I'm going to do it. It's not like something that you have some kind of like a humbleness and egolessness kind of approach, which also in a subtle level it have a karmic support and blessings and so on and so forth. So there's this kind of like a meditation, part of the meditation of emptiness, visualization of the merit field, visualization of the refuge field, and there's this kind of a connection that you build. So basically, sometimes when you feel support, you feel secure. When you feel secure, you feel ground. When you feel ground, then you have a concentration is much more better. Okay. In the same way, is meditation of emptiness. Once you're starting to look in just beyond the reaction, beyond the habit, and trying to go deeper, we need the lineage oxygen. the lineage oxygen. So we can breathe karmically, we can breathe. So I'm just giving the idea. So the meditation process, there's a sense of a protect, sense of a secure. so sense of ground. So it is not that suddenly by you yourself crossing the Atlanta. It's not something like. Sometimes I wonder the airplanes, like when you cross. But of course, today's there's so many things it looks after. But maybe in the early time, okay, now you go by yourself that direction. Okay. So basically. Genuine enthusiasm and sincerity, at the same time openness towards to the lineage blessings, Buddhism, Bodhisattva. So these two become very important. So these two in a traditionally, so it is not all about what I can do. Because sometimes we human can okay, what I can do now, I will do this, I'll do that. It's not something like that. Okay, so you have this kind of, because we are trying to looking into the more deeper nature of awareness. There is obstacle naturally, particularly, even just for retreat. Sometimes you go retreat, not necessarily you can go to much more subtle, not necessary, but most time you get lung problem. There's a different obstacles comes up. So once we trying to kind of looking through the meditation process into the deeper nature of our awareness, it is a sensitivity, karmic sensitivity, obstacles, so on and so. So it is have to have a good lineage blessings and this kind of a spiritual blessings and protections. So this this is otherwise it is kind of like I heard in for example in the West, when you sneeze and you say bless you, and I heard because not negative spirit in it. There's a culture why you say bless you, because not to have obstacle, or there's something, this word somehow something negative to not to interfere into your own existence. And also in Tantra there's a sneezing have something there is some kind of openness of you're in a subtle level, some kind of openness in the sneezings, and there's a several period in so anyway, so maybe before we go to meditation or emptiness, like a sneezing, bless you. Something, the blessings of a lineage or something that we have to have with that, okay? And so now, so when you're doing meditation, don't hurry about dependent origination from the beginning. This is, when you're trying to hurry immediately dependent origination, it is just you are like you didn't build the house very well, but you paint it very well, nicely. It becomes like a movie set. Yeah, looks really, but then you go, everything's empty. So usually when we learn the dependent originations and these things, says we are ready to paint, we are ready to ready to complete the project. In an actual meditation, yes, we understood the dependent origination. Like for example, in one session, when you're doing meditation of emptiness, if you're doing for like 30-minute meditation of emptiness, I will say in the beginning, maybe you just spend 2 minutes, 3 minutes for dependent origination. Rest of your 25, 26, 27 minutes are just diving, just going more subtle, more observing, much more observing and just doing. That's the whole, you take time. Because at this we want to see something that we haven't seen. We want to witness something that we haven't witnessed. Yeah. And anytime I come to here, oh no, I go to Vegas to see the things that never happens. So it's a meditation of emptiness is something like that. At the beginning, really, it's like you need to feel like you are doing some scuba diving into your grasping of a truly existence. And then there's so many beautiful things, but don't pull it out. Don't. So then dependent origination is just kind of like a at the end, you just kind of like a, is that true? Is then really you're comparing, because into the view of intrinsic, you're just kind of seeing everything as a very intrinsic, inherent, intrinsic. So at the beginning, when you do meditation, we need to almost like have to witness view of intrinsic. Not just we're saying, but you need to kind of witness 1 time, 2 time, 3 times. Yes, I witness view of intrinsic. I witness. It's also like almost saying yourself, yes, I witness that view of intrinsic. I witness truly existence of myself. I witness. And this witnessing will becomes very important to later you bring the dependent origination. Then you'd really kind of is this something like that? Is this a really intrinsic or independent or dependent nature? And then here is the really sometimes you a sad experience, sometimes very excitement experience, sometimes you kind of like this whole different way of seeing and a contradiction and a surprise, and this is a part of the wisdom journey. We need to go through that. It is almost like these rockets, when they enter into the orbits, and they get like shaky and difficulty, and it's a similar process. I think we go through this kind of deep. In ocean diving, when they're going through these different things, do you think they can happen same thing? Maybe more quiet. But anyway, is basically in the same thing, when you're climbing, you have acclimatize, you go in and out, In the same way, I think in the meditation of emptiness, at the beginning, you just basically same like a climatizing, you just kind of go much more deeper, intrinsic, you feel tenseness, headache, everything, then you come back because you're much more familiar altitude of a truly existence. So you just go back to there. So in the meditation, basically, it is the same thing. You go back. It basically you're diving, looking much more deeper. Then again, you're coming back. It is not something that you feel like, okay, now I have to stay there. Now I have to. How you say? Now I have to grab the ground. Now no, you need to go back and forth. The same like acclimatizing, same like when you're diving really down, you just slowly taking down, you come back, make sure you adjust it. It's the same process in a kind of. So dependent origination then is like you at the beginning you just kind of like then you have a different perspective. You witness intrinsic existence and you have this perspective of dependent origination. It's just question. If dependent origination immediately answer your question, is it too good to be true? I think we have to, intellectually it may answer. Intellectually it's answer without diving in the meditation of emptiness. Yes, make a sense. But this one is in the meditation, into the experience level. Yeah, it is puts you into a very uncomfortable position or very question situation, may not necessarily answer. Okay, so this is good, you go through that, and then more and more looking again the same thing. You repeat. So then, once you get really good at it, And then meditation over emptiness, then you basically, majority session will be much more into the viewing and observing and experience of a dependent nature, rather than just kind of witnessing the view of intrinsic. So later on, then it's almost like you are well climatized, so you don't need to have all these oxygens and equipments, so you can go into the summit, have a break up there with a wisdom summit, so you can enjoy the view and everything. So then it's like once individual get much more better into that one, then later on it's much more like then view of a dependent nature, view of emptiness. Okay, so more. And so now over here, the word view of emptiness is a kind of usually the analogy it used it's like a space. It's making like a space. So what is a right now, our discernment is really what's distinguishing this and that. We're really relying on to the discernment, this and that and this, so separating everything. Our mind function, our thoughts function in discernment is like something. If you lose discernment right now, they say like, you get lost. You're losing the perspective. Now, discernment but right now the discernment is a functioning based on a intrinsic object right now. Okay? Intrinsic object. So this discernment creates tremendous duality, this and that, and separation, and something very me, and this kind of very it's almost like this conventional difference becomes due to view of intrinsic. The discernment make us somehow a conclusion as the ultimate. This kind of like a duality as the ultimate. So meditation of emptiness is basically the view of a phenomena, the discernment where you look at it. Just basically it takes out the intrinsic object, not necessarily see everything as the same thing. Individuality is there. There's authentic of individuality there, but it connects from the true nature, fundamental nature. It doesn't connect. Like for example, if it's several of Puerto Ricans, if you are traveling in India, if you meet another Puerto Rican, hey, Puerto Rican, there's one other. You don't look at he's from Ponce or from where. You doesn't look. You just see this bigger picture. That doesn't. You just see this bigger picture. In the same way, view of emptiness is something that you really see the bigger picture of a phenomena, or rather than where you are from, this kind of detail. So it is just kind of like the function of a discernment. Yes, it is a detail-oriented, but not the detail-oriented how it detail intrinsic view, but it's mostly function from the bigger picture. So view of emptiness is just basically we see as a human being, we see as a living being. We says, even not just living being, even like we see as a dependent nature. not this and that. Like so, just basically discernment of a view of a way is interact. It's just kind of like a different way of a way it process information can be slightly different. Right now, we process information so much intrinsic and detailed, and so therefore it becomes kind of very bumpy ride. Okay, so anyway, so view of emptiness is something that we need to see in that way. So because of that kind of like a more bigger picture of our existence, I think the compassion, loving kindness, interconnectiveness, respect, these are, I think, naturally kind of it allows. So basically, meditation of emptiness, or a view of emptiness, is basically kind of nurturing our Buddha nature, our enlightened nature. That's all. And this is basically our garden is not taking care. So this meditation of emptiness is basically that to nurturing that Buddha nature. Okay. So. So, dependent nature is seen as a dependent nature as a just correction. It is a just kind of like a transition from intrinsic view to transition for view of emptiness. So dependent origination, dependent view of, it's just kind of, I will say like from the dependent nature of a view, dependent origin, through that, then you have a infinite, limitless view of a reality. So basically that means is a meditation, and you don't need to see everything as a dependent nature. I don't think this is dependent nature is what you wake you up from the ignorance of a view of intrinsic existence. It's just kind of like the password. It's like you cannot have, you don't have to, today's you can put the password one time. It's you don't need to have all the time. You have to view through this all the time, this same password. So basically, of course, at the beginning, we have to remember the password. So at the beginning, yes, dependent origination we are applying, but our view at the end we need to move on. We're able to kind of carry on through, the view of a totality or the bigger picture without ignoring the individuality. So basically, wisdom journey is to, like in Heart Sutra form is emptiness, form, emptiness, non-form, forms, emptiness. This is basically another way of saying is that at the end, right now we are either very individuality or very, big picture. Can we come into the middle ground? These two can complement each other rather than they are contradicting, two different. So dependent origination is just to creating that complementing at the end. That is basically whatever you see, whatever you feel, to able same like a form is empty, emptiness form, emptiness another. So basically this kind of holistic view in the emotional journey, awareness journey, how to move on our daily life. So basically that's and karmic habit comes up, karmic things comes up. It's not that painful. Yes, even you realize emptiness, karmic imprint is there, but it doesn't hit you very hard. I think that's the kind of the key point. Okay. I have a headache now. My headache is gone. So I will say. So let me go back one more time. Is when you're trying to do your own daily meditation, let's put together like a 10 minutes meditation in your daily life. Okay. Step number 1, you look into your habit. Okay, your habit, and you really kind of like create some motivation that I really wants to change, and you know, sometimes we feel this I want to change when you hit very hard. Oh, I want to change. Then next day you totally forget. So create something habit. So routine really wants to change. Okay, this is so. So now this change you want to make a transformation, want with the intention of a meditation of emptiness. Intention. Then you set up the intention. I want to change. I want to transform this through meditation of emptiness. Meditation of emptiness. Okay. So this, your acknowledgement and your introducing your motivation combination. You just kind of almost like you can write down or you can see it. Something that okay. But then sometimes. If you change, then I'll change. You change first, then I'll change later. You started to argue. I changed, but you didn't change. So, but first do your own journey. Okay. So once you set up that very clear, then based on whatever habit that you want to change, in this case, meditation is basically. When you're trying to meditate, when you're looking into your habit, usually I know that he or she did it, so like we blame for another immediately. Our habit is very blaming for another. Oh, you walk from wrong direction, so I got upset. So this kind of like, so in this case, like you're really trying to not blaming anybody, not blaming another, neither not blaming for yourself. That's very important. You know, sometimes when you look at into trouble and habit, either you're trying to blame your childhood, or it goes to this whole. Yes, there is a contribution, and the condition is there, but this is just the surface. We need to go much more in a deeper. So here is basically without discipline, without blaming yourself and another, really trying to just kind of like now you are diving into this habit, to looking into this, just trying to look at it silently, just kind of mindfulnessly, just kind of look. You know, just it is a very interesting. You can just look at. Is a new hobby because you cannot get the just looking into the. Yes, you're looking into the without blaming anybody. Usually, it becomes a kind of distraction. Oh, because of this, because that. No, make sure the minute you started blaming, you're not able to dive down. You kind of pops back. So make sure without this discipline, you're just kind of looking into it, just looking into it. If you get distracted, then again, this is a real meditation. You're really looking into. It's a real meditation, and you're looking into it. You look gradually. You can breathe. You not necessarily get fear or excitement. Just look. Your attention is just to looking into it. Just looking into it. And then, so once you get like, now I can swim, I can dive. I have enough oxygen to dive in. So once you get that kind of a confidence, then you're able to open your eye and able to see the intrinsic of self. At the beginning, yes, when I'm learning first time swimming, I close my eye. Yes, I'm under the water, but very hard, difficult to open. Then when you're more relaxed, you can open the eye and, So anyway, so you're able to kind of see and witness. When I look deep down there, it's not just a destruction of a narrative and story. I'm trying to see this kind of intrinsic. There's some kind of in the centerness, intrinsic solid self. anything, myself, other, all the experience. So you're really trying to see into the, so witness that, witness that, witness that, witness that, witness that. So more that we do that, even the immediate benefit, things comes up on the surface, it doesn't really knock you out, you know, like, because you are much more in the deeper way to look at. You kind of like go through and you're not necessarily. Okay, so then later on, trying to see dependent origination. Sometime in the meditation instruction, they said like, almost like, what is the option if things are intrinsic or not intrinsic? Option left is a dependent origination. Almost dependent origination is like, it's sometimes we looked at it and apply and logic and reasons. Sometimes it's like a natural, okay, that's the only options. That's the only option of existence. That is the only option of a source of happiness. It's almost like okay, it's not here, not here. This is the only way. This is the only way. This is the only option. Sometimes the dependent origination should not become like a. Almost, it says you need to kind of find this is the only the way for happiness of an emotion, happiness of a self and another person. So so basically in a reality base, into the way to making progress and moving forward, view of a dependent origination, then just kind of like a transition and correcting the view through the reflection of a dependent origination, it's kind of like it's kind of unleash. It just unleash the grasping of intrinsic. So this dependent origination is almost like a unleashing. At the beginning, everything is kind of put together by view of intrinsic existence. So dependent origination just kind of almost this kind of unleash this view of a grasping of intrinsic. And then this freedom, then you have this freedom of calls a spacious awareness, and basically I think they're much more into your discernment, function of your discernments go into slight different way. Okay, it's not in the intrinsic sense, but much more without negating individual and authentic, but at the same time having the holistic view. So that's, I think, the key thing. And then through that is naturally nurtures our compassion, our concentration, So it's just kind of like a fundamental sense of a self, true self, your primordial self, kind of. Yeah, that's, and then of course based on that, and then all the realizations, all these potentials which it describes into the in the sutras and tantras, you found your treasure. You found your enlightened treasure, so now there's an infinite. So this is, I think, And then, once you go through this kind of observing, and then you kind of like unleashing view of intrinsic through dependent origination, and during that time, sometimes good to recite like in Heart Sutra, form is empty, emptiness, form. So you just kind of like reinforcing, and sometimes there's a songs of experience of emptiness. There's an expression of that transition, and sometimes there's a different verses. You can find songs of experience, and once you have that, you recite this verse. It's just reinforce, validate your experience. So this kind of recitation is also very important. Sometimes songs of experience you can do before you go to meditation of emptiness. You kind of awake experience of emptiness, and then you go through same process, observing on that process, and then you have this kind of dependent origination way to correcting and unleashing the intrinsic view, and then you again recite songs of experience. Usually you do that, but once you get good, I think you have your own songs of experience. I think you need to able to come up your own experience of this very unfamiliar territory, and very exciting, and very kind of like I think individual have his own songs of experience can happen. And these things are not necessarily you are planning to write. Songs of experience should not become like you say prepared and then you're composing. It have to be a spontaneous. Songs of experience most times are spontaneous, and that spontaneous comes from your meditation. Okay, and so there's sometimes can be very strange, sometimes can be all kind of things. So it don't have any rules. Songs of experience don't have any regulations. It is infinite. It is limitless. Okay. Now my throat getting limited. Okay. Oh yeah. This is good. They'll take this one. I'll take this one. Thank you. Sorry. So any kind of songs of experience, we have translation of that songs of experience in no. There's one good if you look at it into also in a Lojong text, Lojong will of a sharp weapon, and it have a method section and a wisdom section. I think wisdom section of these verses are really good, and if you can translate, and if you, particularly the Madhyamaka class, if you can have some way to look at it and kind of witness these great masters there, songs of the experience of emptiness, and you can, if there's if we can translate, if you can find some translation, and part of your daily meditation, maybe memorize or whatever you can do, recite that, so that would be really good. Okay. Okay, now maybe I should stop here. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you.
Dedicamos. Vamos a dedicar primero por las personas que han pedido oración, ya sea porque están enfermas, alguna situación especial. Alberto me está haciendo señal de allá. Alberto está diciendo algo de allá. Que sigamos, okay. O las personas que están en el bardo. Josué, Federico Lora y Ginette, Carmen Fina, familia Yuri, Maya, Lucas y Catalina, Iván y Luis Figueroa, Carlota Carrera, Madeline Navarro, Liliana Morales, Vilma Olavarrieta, Adeline Aldrich, Reinaldo Irizarry, Noemí Maimí, Richard Seltzer, Lilian Finkel, Adriana Nicole Cruz, Aida Dávila, Jenny Martínez, Wilda Nieves, Nelly Torres, María Luisa Espinel, Manuel Pérez, Nacheli Meléndez, Irma Cortés, Jessica Ruiz, Juan Peña, Katia Rivera, Alejandra Rivera, Joselí Angeli, Abnel Reyes, Cintia Colón Martínez, Betty Díaz, Anet Rivera Guerra, Jeremy Rosario, Maritza Berríos, Blanca Montserrat, María Ruiz, Esteban Martínez, Esteban McGrath, Kathy McLaughlin, Trevor Bayus, Ángel Rivera Bretaña, Ivonne Román, Orlando Román, Shazana Ferret, Marisa Berríos, María de Jesús Ruiz, Tamara Maldonado. Y los fallecidos: Jesús Estudilla, Carmen Vélez, María Esther Ulis, Héctor Yelpi Álvarez, Grace Connors, Jamie Quiñones y Gustavo Corujo. Les dedicamos primero por la larga vida del Dalai Lama y luego por la larga vida de Yangsi Rinpoche. En la tierra rodeada por montañas de nieve, eres la fuente de toda felicidad y bondad. Todopoderoso Shelresi Tenzin Gyatso, por favor, permanece hasta el final del samsara. Madre Tare, liberando del samsara. Tu Tare, liberando de los 8 temores. Tara, Madre que libera, por favor otorga el don de la longevidad. Por las bendiciones de los gurús raíz y del linaje, por los logros espirituales de los Yidam, dioses y diosas, por los métodos hábiles de las Dakinis y los protectores del Dharma, que podamos realizar gozosamente la esencia de nuestras esperanzas. Gendun Tenzin, eres afable, benevolente y bondadoso. Por favor, permanece con nosotros durante una larga vida. Expande tus actividades iluminadas en todas las direcciones y continúa madurando y sustentándonos a mí y a todos los seres sintientes. Desde este momento, durante todas nuestras vidas, manténnos bajo tu tutela. Sé nuestro amigo, nuestro divino y virtuoso guía. Limpia la degeneración de la ignorancia. Ayúdanos a realizar rápidamente nuestro recorrido por los senderos y caminos y alcanzar los 3 cuerpos y un Buda. Por la verdad de la realidad incambiable y por la bendición conjunta de la indestructible Sangha, que la esencia de estas oraciones se logre rápidamente. Y dedicación final. Que por los méritos de esta virtud pueda alcanzar rápidamente el estado de un Gurú Buda y pueda llevar a este estado a todo ser sin excepción. La mente de iluminación es suprema y muy preciada. Que donde no ha surgido surja, que donde ha surgido no disminuya, que cobre cada vez más fuerza. La visión correcta del vacío es suprema y muy preciada. Que donde no ha surgido surja, que donde ha surgido no disminuya, que cobre cada vez más fuerza. Así como el valiente Manjushri y Samantabhadra distinguieron los fenómenos tal cual son, yo también dedico estos méritos en la mejor forma, siguiendo su ejemplo perfecto. Dedico todas estas raíces de virtud con la dedicación que es considerada la mejor por los victoriosos asidos de los 3 tiempos para poder realizar todas las buenas obras. Happy birthday to you. Bueno, todos los cumpleañeros. Y tú, los cumpleañeros del día. Happy birthday.
Todos.
Un montón de gente. To you. Feliz, feliz en tu día. Amiguitos, que Dios te bendiga, que reine la paz en tu día y que cumplas muchos más. Dale, José, todos los que cumplen. José, tú también. Todos los que cumplen en febrero, pasen adelante.
Mira,
Everyone's birthdays.
exacto, okay.